Welcome back. I was just saying to my first guest this evening that I'm somewhat remiss that I don't spend more time talking about the heritage of Park City, not just what's happening right now and what we're excited about as ski season kicks off, but also about the history that many of us who are still relative newcomers don't know a ton about, although I will confess that sometimes I sneak away and enjoy the Park City Museum on Main Street all by myself. It's good stuff. Mr. MD, I should say, Dr. Robert T. Winn is a longtime Park City resident. He has so many great stories. It's really, truly wonderful to have him in the studio. And I'm very excited to speak with him about this book that he has published called Night Reflections. And it is certainly a story replete with a lot of emotion, it's fair to say. This is, as he's known here in Park City, Winnie. How are you, sir? Great to see you. Well, so nice to meet you in person.
Yeah, well,
thanks for being here. I'm not sure to start with congratulations or congratulations on being a tenured park guide.
I'm very fortunate. I ended up here by accident, and now I've lived here longer than any other place that I've lived. So I guess that makes me a park guide.
Indeed. Well,
it also makes me old.
Well, if your energy and your smile are any indication, you're just part way along the path of this thing called life.
I hope so. I hope
Indeed. So if you would, before we talk kind of about the specifics of the book, talk about the background of your, I don't want to say travel logs, because I guess you did it more as a holiday kind of thing where you would, and I had an aunt and uncle who would do the same thing, would say, hey, here's what happened in our year back in the day when you weren't posting, here's what happened in my last 5 minutes, on Facebook and social media. So,
how did you know about that?
Oh, I just did my research.
Oh, I guess I've always enjoyed writing, and I've been lucky enough to have some adventures. So Christmas is a real busy time for me because I've always been here in Park City where it's busy for everybody. So I've always written my Christmas cards sometime, and that could be after ski season or it could be as late as November. And so that time I would say what had happened the year before, and often included, some of our adventures. My wife worked for an airline for a long time, so we had some travel benefits, and we took great advantage of them.
That's great.
So.
And at what point did you sort of feel like, hey, well, this whole just sitting down and telling the story of us is pretty cool and pretty fun, because everybody communicates with friends at the holidays, but it's a long distance to a tome like this.
Well, that's a little different story. What happened was my wife was diagnosed with a life-threatening disease, acute myeloid leukemia. And unbelievably, she had been well 3 days before, and the next thing I know, the doctor's telling me, as I asked him doctor to doctor, what can I expect? And he said that she might not survive the week. And she was my soulmate, my best friend, the love of my life. I was devastated. And I had to figure out how to deal with this because I wanted to still be able to take care of my patients. I wanted to still be able to talk to my mom, my friends, and give some semblance of normalcy to my children. And so I decided something that was revolutionary at the time, that I would write an email, which was a new thing to me, and this was before social media, and I would send it out to a group. And I did that, and that allowed people to know what was going on, so I didn't have to talk about that part of what was going on in my life, my wife's illness, because everyone would know, because my emails got a pretty good wide circulation in town, and so my patients, my friends knew, and so I could try and be as normal as I could. So I wouldn't say that I did this for any other reason than to, it was my way of dealing with my basket full of emotions and to keep people informed and supporting us. So it was far different than the times I had written letters to tell people I had gone, swimming with great white sharks.
Right. And it occurs to me, and I've had some similar experience this year.
I'm sorry.
That writing has a great barrier that the communication can permeate through, but you don't not necessarily always want to have the two-way conversation, especially with this large group of people when you start going one by one, and especially in the diagnosis time and the treatment time,
right,
when all your energy surely is going into your love and your support of the love of your life.
You should start writing. That sounds exactly the way it was.
Very cool. Talk about the process, and well, let's do this. Let's have the happy ending right now. Can we have the happy ending?
The happy ending is that even though they said that she might not make it through the week, she went into remission, and then fought a long, hard battle for the better part of a year in the hospital and a year in and out of the hospital, and now, almost 12 years later, she's perfectly healthy, has a different blood type because she ended up getting a bone marrow transplant.
Wow.
But we had the miracle happen. And we don't forget it for one day. We're a lot more aware than we were, don't do things much differently, but we're more aware of how lucky we are.
I can only imagine just waking up going, well, look at you.
Exactly.
Let's do this. Let's take a little break because I'm very interested in kind of the mechanics of the process,
okay,
and also, of course, to talk about the journey within the book.
Okay.
That reflects the journey that you took in life.
Sounds good.
We'll be right back with Winnie after this. Welcome back. We are discussing a journey that is compiled in this book, Night Reflections. And as I'm sure you can probably see, even from the camera, I'm trying to look at the monitor and get it right. Dr. Robert T. Winn is the author. He is as local as it gets around these parts here in beautiful Park City, and he's with me this evening. Welcome back.
Glad to be here.
Let's talk about this process, a whole nother journey from writing emails, being communicative to people who you know personally, basically,
yep,
and then, first of all, just the amount of work that it takes to put this together, but also the fact that you're releasing all of this beauty, this emotion, this journey, this path you've taken to people who you will never meet in your entire life. That, to me, is just spellbinding, really.
It's overwhelming to think about. Because I'm an accidental author, I guess I would say. It wasn't my plan when I wrote those emails. When I finished, when my wife was declared cancer-free as best we knew, I closed my computer and thought I would never see them again.
How about that?
And then, so do you want to, should I keep going with the?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, a couple weeks later, there was a knock at my door, and in walks one of my very close friends, Chuck English, with a box. He says, I have a present for you. I said, a present? And I opened it up, and inside the box were 25 copies of a different book about this big, and one of my patients and dear friends had saved all my emails, made some sense of them, which is very surprising because they were all independent, written in the middle of the night, not spell checked, not grammar checked, in between the interruptions of people coming in to take blood, give medicines. I mean, I'm surprised anyone ever read them. But anyway, she had compiled them all,
wow,
and gave them to me in a book. So that was step one, that I had them, because by the time the next step happened, it would have been 4 hard drives ago, and I wouldn't have had them.
Sure.
So the next step, if you can believe this, I went to a party, and I walked in to this party, and I saw this young woman, meaning young 30s, and she smiled at me, and I knew her, so I walked up to her to say hello, and she said, you don't remember me, Winnie, do you? And I said, I remember your face, but help me out. And she said, I'm Kristen Barber, and I was a nurse practitioner student in your office, back when your wife was sick. I said, oh yeah, I remember that. How are you doing? She says, well, I've been waiting to run into you for 8 years. And I said, oh, and I sort of took a step back because I didn't know what was coming.
Yeah.
And I said, why is that? She said, I wanted to tell you something. You had an influence on my life. And I said, wow, that's the nicest thing anyone but my wife has ever told me. What did I do? And she told me that she had been on my email list.
Wow.
And had read my emails, and that she was now an oncology nurse practitioner taking care of cancer patients. And so that was pretty overwhelming and really nice. And as if that wasn't enough, standing next to her was the twin brother of the person throwing the party, which is a whole nother story, how I got to meet them. But anyway, he said, Winnie, tell me about these emails. And so I told him a little bit about how I use them as an outlet, and how my list had grown from about 20 people to 500, and how all the people in this wonderful town had respected that and had taken care of me without asking me about my wife, and I was able to function. And anyway, he said, well, do you still have it? And the answer would have been no, but I had that book. So he said, I am an author. I was actually in business, but I wrote a #1 New York Times bestseller in business, and this sounds like something that could help other people, like it helped Kristen. Can you send it to me? And I sent him the book, and he said, we can help some people. And he became my mentor, my friend, my editor, my business manager, my legal consultant, because he is someone who had done all those things in his business career. And
I wish I was at that party.
Yeah, but the coincidence, and so we did this book, and he took it to his publisher, and she thought it could help some people too, and became a book. But then the one part I didn't tell you about is that when we got the book contract, before I signed it, he said, has Nancy, my wife, ever read any of this? Have your son and daughter ever read any of this? And from the look in your face, you just assume that the answer is yes.
Right, and as soon as you said that, I bet, oh wow.
And there couldn't be any further away from that. When I was doing all this in the middle of the night, and I did it not in the middle of the night because it was not busy, because it was always busy when you have a sick patient in the room.
Yes, yes.
I was doing it because I couldn't sleep, and it was my outlet. Well, she tried to ignore it, and every once in a while she'd say, I hope you're not writing that, but she never wanted to know about it.
Right.
She never wanted anything to do with it, because she's the type of person who goes to a party and all of a sudden the dishes are clean and no one knows who did them. She's very low key. She doesn't like to be the center of attention. She's a beautiful, wonderful person, but this was hard and personal for her. So I had to let her read it, and my daughter read it, my son read it, and I'm still alive because they think it might help some other people, and they said okay. And so that's how it became a journey to the book. But the journey to become a writer is a whole nother subject.
No kidding.
Because my writing, I think, was, looking back, not very good. Tim somehow saw the promise in it, and he made me look at every word, every sentence, every paragraph, and improve my writing and make it into a story that was not just something for my friends and the people here in Park City, but that might have broader appeal, as you mentioned, to people who I don't even know. And we added a beginning and an end to give it context. We used my family's love of nature and Yellowstone National Park to tie a thread through it. Anyway, so that's how it became a book.
That's just crazy. And who you made me think of when you were talking about the craft and about maybe your syntax wasn't the greatest or those kinds of things, but the story, man. And that's the thing. I thought of Bob Dylan. I don't know if Bob Dylan ever sang a single beautiful note.
Right.
But
yeah.
As an artist, not just as a performer, he is America. He's us.
Yeah.
Thanks, man. It's so great to meet you, and this is such a wonderful story. Tell folks where they can get a hold of the book.
Well, hard for me to believe it's on Amazon.com, and it's there and ready, and it's in Dolly's bookstore here in town.
Sure.
And my friends back east tell me that it's in their bookstores too. So I guess it's a real book.
It's a real book.
And
from a real writer.
I don't know about that. The judgment's out on that yet. We'll see what people have to say. But I pinch myself to have been able to get this far.
Well, I will say this, in my good fortune to meet you and to spend some time with you, I can't wait to open this up.
Well,
I really can't.
That is going to be your copy as soon as I get back to the desk.
Thank you, my friend. It's so great to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
And let's keep in touch. I want you to
Okay.
come back and hang out, and
I would love that.
I want to talk more about the writing, and of course, just hear about your adventures, man.
Sounds good.
Thank you so
Sounds
much.
good to me. Thank
It's
you.
Winnie, everybody. Good stuff. Hey, we're going to take a break, and we got lots more music from Rhythm Junction. I think the weather's kind of cleared up. We'll take a look at it. We'll see if we'll talk about it on air right after this.